Are you okay, little girl? Am I just a seat? Am
You're
I
just a
just a
ch-
seat?
you're just a chair.
I'm just a chair for you. Oh, oh, so sketchies. Hi. Yeah, that was your butt. That was right there.
All right,
All
we
right.
are
We are live.
we are.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Conservation Conversations. I will be one of your hosts. My name is Shauna. I'm the executive director here at the Big Bad Project. This is Ambassador Wyatt, who is currently enjoying some much needed brushies because she looks kind of like a drowned rat. Huh, do you look like a drowned rat? Yeah, you do. And the voice in the sky is Paul.
Hi. Okay, that's
Nice.
probably pretty loud. I'll refrain from making that noise.
Um, so yeah, today we are going to talk about or have a conversation about some of the good things that have come from the incident in Wyoming where a young wolf was run down with a snowmobile and paraded around a bar and eventually shot. So, I don't think there's anything else that I can call it other than a tragedy. It is, it was a brutal and barbaric act done for the amusement of others. Um, and regardless of the type of animal or how much you may dislike that animal, no living creature deserves that kind of torture and death. It's beyond bad. Um, so yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the good things that have come from that. Um,
And it's
First and
nice to
foremost,
know that there are good things that have come from it.
yeah, I mean, I think that's the only way that I can stomach what happened and feel like it's okay. Not that it's okay. The act itself was not okay, but feel like hopeful, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'm. Oh, now you want brushies? Hello, this is Ambassador Tiberius. He also really likes brushes. Can I have the comb? Thank you. Can I put this comb back? Thank you. Oh, you're gross. Um, so after everything happened in Wyoming, and this came to light in the public eye, it didn't just get national attention; it got international attention for how horrible it was, and predominantly the lack of accountability that this man faced, the inability of the state of Wyoming to punish him to the fullest extent of the law, which is still, possibly debatable. We really haven't had too many updates there on whether or not this man will face harsher punishment. But the public outcry and the attention that this brought to the lack of laws on the books. Oh, can you not rub your gross face on me? Is that is that just what we do today? I think that.
He's making a point.
Oh, he says, you call me stinky, I'll make you stinky too. Okay, you're not getting any treats right now, but thank you. Um, Here, you want to look up? Look up. You look up. No, no. You don't have to. You don't have to. You're too special. So yeah, public outcry was unbelievable. Like I said, national attention, international attention, and it forced. Do you want your fur ball? Here, do you want this? Do you want this? So when we say that wolves try to use their mouth for literally everything, that is what I mean. Big stretches, bud. Oh, big stretches. So all of the spotlight was put on the state and the lack, uh-oh, right here. Where was the spot? Right there?
I don't know, but
I keep,
there was hair flying at the camera.
I'm sorry. Um, all right, while he is gone, I'm sorry, I keep getting interrupted, which is, I guess, the downside of working this kind of conversation while you have animals present. Just let's take a minute to look at this. Okay. So the public outcry was incredible, and the spotlight was placed on the state of Wyoming and their lack of laws that protect wildlife, specifically predators in that state. And before I go on, I want to make the disclaimer that, predators for ranchers and livestock owners can be a real problem. These are people's livelihoods, and just because you may not agree with some of their practices doesn't mean that their livelihood is less important than yours. Okay? It is our job as advocates to show them how important these animals are to our ecosystem, how important biodiversity is, and and the benefit of coexisting with wildlife. And you can't do that if you're attacking the other side with negativity. It just doesn't work that way. So I think that folks need to be accountable on all sides. But livestock is affected by predators in that state. So there are not very many laws on the books that really protect these animals. Predominantly, wolves. So they're seen as a nuisance, and the state views them as a nuisance, regardless of what representatives may say, denouncing the specific acts of this man. Their inactions, in this case, speak much louder than their words. You can make a statement, but it doesn't make it true. Their practices, their policies have been less than stellar in the past. So seeing all of this news coverage, having all of the highlight be on this state, and the politicians and elected officials in that state. Do you want this one? Yeah, see, you already know. You did this before. How do you think it's going to be a different result? So seeing all of the pressure put on this state and these elected officials was actually, here. Okay, well, I can't turn that way, so no more brushies. Honestly, it was really nice to see. It was really nice to see how you can highlight and hold these folks accountable for their inactions in the wake of something like this happening. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Paul.
I mean, it is. I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting there to be much in the way of change applied from this. So actually getting to see multiple petitions get traction and new legislative subcommittees get formed is it's a breath of fresh air, really, over the what's normally an uphill struggle at all times, with very little movement from the higher ups, so to speak.
Well, I think that's why public outcry and public condemnation of this act was so important, right? It wasn't just people going, that's bad and we don't like it. There were several petitions that were, thank you for laying down, bud, that were started in response to this. Two of which were actually by our friend Ivy, who is our mentee for our Rising Voices program. And her petitions gained over, I think one of them was over 25,000 and the other one is over 30,000 signatures. calling for not just harsher punishments, but calling for banning the use of motorized vehicles to run down wildlife.
I'm linking
And
those in the chat so everyone can go
thank
check
you.
them out and go sign up.
You want this fur ball? How much you want to bet he's going to take this fur ball? Oh, he lost interest. Nope, he was thirsty. Hey, bud. He wants to go out. He's upset that he has to be in here, that we are not behind us playing in that giant green space.
Well, normally around this time they're both out in the larger enclosure chasing each other
Here,
around and
you
playing.
want this?
I'm
Every
also going to
time.
link. I'm going to link Ivy's website, saveawolf.org, the Conserving the Wolves website.
Yeah, so for those of you who are not familiar with our Rising Voices program or Ivy, Rising Voices is designed as a mentorship program so that advocates who have been in the game, so to speak, for a long time can work with younger advocates to help them find their voice in advocacy, help them learn some of the things that we didn't know or we have learned along the way. And Ivy is fantastic. Like, I wish I could take credit for all of her efforts and all of the great things that she has done, but she has been passionate about wolves since she was, I think, 12 or 13, probably younger. She's been really, really passionate, but really active in their advocacy and their conservation for probably, let's see, the last 7 years. So it's been really an honor and a privilege to have her as part of this program because she's so open and receptive to feedback. And
What are they playing with?
a beetle. He found a
Oh, hey,
beetle.
Jenna.
Did you find one?
Jenna's asking, can you share more specifically about the legislative changes or changes in the works?
Absolutely. So Paul mentioned a little bit earlier that we are seeing some subcommittees, or we saw a subcommittee that was formed, and it's made up of a whole bunch of different stakeholders. So we have representatives from different groups, state reps, and then we also have wildlife advocacy groups like Wyoming Wildlife Advocates. I don't know if Wyoming Untrapped is on that committee. I don't think so. But we have input from other advocacy organizations during open sessions and town halls and whatnot. And I'm going to be honest, I wish I could say that I had super high hopes when we heard of this subcommittee being formed, but I didn't, and for good reason. Because Wyoming has always been a little lax in their protections for predators, I wasn't very hopeful that there was going to be significant change. And I know, and Paul, if you want to do me the favor of linking the outlines of these proposed changes and drafts, and I believe these were discussed on July 9th at their subcommittee meeting.
Oh, for sure. Do you want me to link? I have a list of all of the people involved in this subcommittee in a list if you want me to link that too.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So basically, they're adding to the existing statutes and legislation, or they're proposing that language change. But it's still protecting an individual's right to run down wildlife with a motorized vehicle. It just, the way that the language is written, and Paul, I think you may have it in front of you. So if you do, if you want to read the exact language or link that in chat, that'd be awesome. But basically what it's saying is that, well, you can run them down, but you have to kill them or then immediately release them. So it's not solving the root cause of the issue, which is we probably just throwing it out there, we probably shouldn't be running down wildlife with our vehicles, just saying. And it could be a super easy fix. Like, just outlaw that practice, period. I cannot think of one reason, like one valid reason, why you would need to run down an animal with a vehicle. Truly can't.
Nope.
So
Okay,
I
sorry.
don't. Go ahead.
So this is the treatment of predators working group.
Yes.
This is the title of the. I linked everything in chat. I linked the who's
Groovy.
involved and everything else here.
Groovy. Thank you.
Did you want me to read the?
Yeah, read the specific language. Like, I'm giving you my interpretation of it, but Paul in front of him, he has the actual statute with the language and then the proposed changes. And we don't know if that is. We won't know what their recommendations are until the 2025 open, like, general session for legislation. So this could still be just one proposal that was discussed. It could be rejected, but this is also why it's important to stay on top of what they're meeting about, how they feel about those proposals, and then in open sessions voice your concern. So go ahead, Paul. I'll let you take it away.
Okay, so the meeting itself says that the purpose of the meeting is to begin consideration of the working group's assigned task. The working group will receive review on what statutory wildlife provisions exempt or apply to predators, what statutes apply to the use of vehicles when pursuing or hunting predators, and what statutes govern animal abuse, and how are predators subject to or exempt from those provisions. The working group will also receive an update from the Wyoming Game and Fish Department on their efforts on wolf management. And the meeting materials do break down into various attachments regarding proposed statute changes. And they're interesting because the wording is it essentially just still allows for a lot of the same things to happen to these animals, with the exception that they cannot be they must be euthanized immediately upon being run over.
Which is insane to me.
Yeah.
Like, truly, truly insane. So do you have the specific language there that you can read?
I might. I'm taking a look here.
So, any person who intentionally directly injures or disables a predatory animal by use of a vehicle, snowmobile, or other ground-based mobile device shall immediately make a good faith effort to euthanize the injured or disabled predatory animal. Failure to do so shall be deemed a commission of cruelty to animal under this section. Such violations shall be subject to penalties as provided in WS 63.
Yeah, the statute itself.
The statute.
Yep. And that statute, for the record, that just outlines the penalties if you break the law, right? So outlines fines, potential jail time, other disciplinary measures, things like that. Hi, Wyatt. Can you show me beans? Beans? Thank you. So it's I can't think of another word other than disgusting. I really can't. I wish I could be more diplomatic than that, but I don't think I need to be. I think that this is clearly still protecting the folks who are running these animals down. And I cannot, like I said before, I cannot think of a reason why that needs to happen. I cannot think of a reason why we need to protect those individuals or need to run animals down. For what purpose? That's not hunting. And I'm all for, oh, thank you, but you're not getting it. That's not how we do it. I appreciate it. Can you watch me?
You know what's funny? Seeing Wyatt on camera, because we haven't been doing the conversations for a few weeks,
She has grown significantly in the last 2 to 3 weeks.
Really?
You can see it in the way she sits down. Yeah, she's filled out really,
Are
really
you
nicely over the last month or so.
are you turning into a young wolf? Are you turning into the young puffy wolf? You go, girl. Um, so for those of you who do not know or are not familiar with our ambassadors here, Ambassador Wyatt just turned 2 years old. She's a female. She just had her first estrus cycle, so she's still growing, still filling out, still maturing. We were actually kind of worried because she was super thin. Even her tail looked like a drowned rat tail, but that's almost normal when you have that like awkward teenager stage, and that's pretty much where she's at right now. So she's starting to kind of grow into herself a little bit more and turn into a more mature animal. Tibby is 4 years old, just turned 4 years old, so he is matured about as much as he is gonna mature, and he's still, lanky, awkward, but not uncommon for these kind of animals, especially in their summer coat. Their summer coat makes them look a lot leaner and a lot thinner than they are
No,
during winter.
They'll poof out in a couple of months when they start to regrow their
Yeah.
coat.
But you're still beautiful, huh, bud?
So
Are you so good?
to roll back into this, we have these new proposed legislation drafts that
No.
essentially all that's really changing is that you must euthanize the animal if you happen to whack it with a snowmobile or another vehicle.
Yep. Excuse
They
me, ma'am. Absolutely not.
they have
Thank you.
increased the severity of the charges involved as part of this proposal, I believe. This is
Watch me.
in the section 6.3, like the actual legislation, penalties and misdemeanor offenses.
It is. Excuse you. No. It's disgusting.
Yeah, the first offense is punishable by imprisonment for no more than 6 months and a fine of no more than $750. So, like, if you purposefully break these laws, you only get slapped on the wrist with a $750 fine.
Yep. Yep. Oh, you's angry? That's not how you get snacks. That's not how you get snacks.
Second or subsequent convictions, however, really do rise in severity quite substantially for people who may be habitual animal abusers.
What is
Where each instance becomes a $5,000 fine. And a second or subsequent conviction resulting from charges separately brought and arising out of separate occurrences have to be within a 5-year period. But they'll get 6 more months in prison and another $5,000 fine or both.
Yeah, to me, that's just not sufficient. It isn't. I feel like you have to have specific intentions getting behind the wheel of a vehicle to run these animals down. And I don't care if it's a wolf, a bear, a cougar, a deer. It really doesn't matter what it is. It's not okay. Period. It just isn't. And I don't understand how the state of Wyoming does not share that view.
Yeah.
You're not eating it. No, that's not what's happening. But thank you.
To tack on to this, the proposed legislation for taking predatory animals or fur-bearing animals without a license is also on this. But
Yep. So basically, if you take an, but what gets me is the way that it's written. Predators can be taken at any point in time without a license for any reason. That's how the statutes are written there. And it's really disheartening because there are no protections for these animals. And it's truly a shame, you know, because I don't think that your elected officials in that state are recognizing the benefits of these animals, and the science and the data that backs that up, you know.
Yeah. The language does say that any person who takes fur-bearing animals or game birds without the appropriate license is punished with a misdemeanor. Like, that's all.
But that is, to my knowledge, that doesn't include predatory animals.
Yes, you're correct. Yeah.
So it would still mean that wolves are not protected in that regard. And that's just kind of a piss poor response. You know, this committee was established to reevaluate the protections and the laws in place for predatory animals specifically, and this is what they give us as a suggestion. Like, I'm kind of offended. I don't even live in the state of Wyoming, and I'm offended. I feel like that's another kind of prickly aspect to this, is now people who do live in the state of Wyoming, they're very defensive when quote unquote outsiders have opinions on this because we don't live their lives, or we don't live in that area, or we're not experienced with animals coming and taking, or predators coming and taking our animals. And again, I'm not saying that that's not a problem. It is. But there are ways that we can mitigate those problems that are not being utilized in favor of lethal force, which is just insane to me. Like, truly insane.
Well,
more brushes? You came over here looking for brushes. Come here.
no.
Yeah. He came over earlier and he was searching. Feeling this is what she was searching for, huh, bud? Gross.
Oh, hey, Ivy. Ivy says, hi,
Hey, Ivy.
Shauna. Thank you for the shout out.
You are very welcome. I'm pretty sure Paul has linked your website in chat. And again, for anybody who is here, or anybody watching in the future, I highly suggest that you go give Ivy a like, a follow, a bookmark her website, and keep up with her and all of the good things that she's doing, because she is, at 15 years old, making a significant impact in the conservation of these animals, the protection of these animals, and just the fervent passion that she has. Like, that is just, it's refreshing and inspiring to see in somebody so young. So support that, please.
Yeah.
Tibbs, here. You want this? Every time. Every time.
He likes the fur.
You hate it. Yeah. So, but Jenna, thank you. That was actually a good question and a good segue into where we actually wanted to lead the conversation, was talking about the subcommittee's suggestions so far and the proposed changes to legislation, which are laughable, truly.
Yeah, they're a start, but they are not where things need to be.
No, I mean, like I said, how hard is it to say, don't run animals over with vehicles intentionally? Like, why
Apparently
is
very
this
hard.
So, yeah, I don't know. I have all the feelings about it personally, but from a conservation perspective, and from, an advocacy perspective, I do not see the logic or the reasoning behind this proposed change, because it does nothing to truly protect these animals or other wildlife. You want to run down an animal with your snowmobile, the state of Wyoming is saying, go ahead. And to me, that's insane for a whole other reason, right? Like, the reintroduction of wolves into Yellowstone has greatly impacted the revenue streams for that state. And I believe the reintroduction has generated over like $30 million in annual income for the state of Wyoming, which, why would you want to risk being the state that's not going to protect that?
Yep.
Like, the lack of appreciation is insane. Here, you want more brushies? You want her out of your spot. I don't know if you guys can see, but there's like a little spot over there that Wyatt has taken, and that's normally where Tibby lays. What happened, bud? Did she take your spot?
So I do have one question. What are some of the key insights that wildlife advocacy groups could bring to the legislative committee, subcommittee?
I mean, perspective, right? We look at, as advocates, we look at things through a very different lens than somebody who's maybe a rancher or somebody who has no skin in the game, so to speak. By being advocates, by having wildlife specific advocacy groups that are present at these meetings, that are providing their insight, you are getting insights that normally are science-based, where we can reference, studies that have been done. And when I say we, I mean advocates, wildlife advocates, or conservation advocates on a whole, not, that I am actively there at those meetings in Wyoming and presenting findings that the Big Bad Project has found. It's not us. But there's definitely a certain lens that we see through, and that is not a bad thing, I think I've said it before. Perspective is golden, right? When you have a problem and you're looking for a solution, you want as many different perspectives and lived experiences as you can possibly garner, because that's how you're going to start thinking about how to approach a problem, find a solution with thinking outside the box, or maybe a different perspective sheds light on the downsides of lethal management for these animals because of the environmental impacts. And maybe somebody who is not well versed in the environmental impact side of it has a deeper, broader perspective in that particular area and why it's relevant to all people, or people of that region. So it really does come down to a matter of the perspective that different groups bring to the table. I think that's why it's super important to have a variety of stakeholders there representing different groups or representing different peoples, because we need to find a solution that's acceptable to all, right? Doing nothing isn't acceptable. And we need to be mindful of the fact that there are ranchers and livestock owners that are negatively impacted by an increased predator population. So if that's the case, what do we do to try to mitigate those problems? There are non-lethal solutions. Are they being effectively utilized? I don't know.
I went ahead and linked a group of advocates, wildlife advocates for Wyoming.
Are you talking about like Wyoming Wildlife Advocates and Wyoming Untrapped?
Yes.
Yeah, so these organizations jumped into action almost immediately after the general public was made aware of this incident with Cody Roberts and this young wolf who was tortured and, shot. And as an advocate, one of the things that I really hate seeing are organizations that denounce these actions and have public outcries about these, make public statements for fundraising purposes, and then don't do anything with it. And what was really great to see about Wyoming wildlife advocates and Wyoming Untrapped and Wolves of the Rockies was involved for a bit, is that they unified and collaborated, and through their collective efforts, they brought the fight to Washington, D.C. It was highlighted by an Instagram, he's a trainer and influencer on Instagram, that really it helped raise awareness to and visibility to the cause. His name is Jonas Black. So it was great to see all of these folks come together for the common goal of bringing this to elected officials, letting them know we won't stand for this. This is a problem. And really, they deserve all of the credit for this, you know, raising the visibility of this issue, and taking it from just public outrage to actionable steps, and then guiding folks along the way on how to take actionable steps. And it's not just them, you know, since then, there have been other organizations that are raising awareness, raising visibility, highlighting the work that is being done, providing pathways to contact your legislation that's either local or in DC or in Wyoming, to let them know, you know, how you feel about the situation, how it impacts you. Excuse me. And I think all of that is incredibly important, you know?
Absolutely. Yep.
Are we done with pitches?
I think oh, no, he's going for it.
Well, I always ask, because if he wants more, he'll come and get more.
Yeah.
Okay, right there. Right there. Oh, thank you. That's great. Are you trying to do some mutual grooming, but I don't have the fuzz? I'm trying to do mutual grooms.
So I want to bring up a point about lawsuits.
Oh.
Yeah. So, Animal Wellness Action and another DC-based group, Center for Human Economy, filed a lawsuit on July 2nd.
I was going to say, it was just this month that they filed that lawsuit.
In the U.S. District Court in Missoula, Montana. And the group claims that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is liable for refusing to place wolves in Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho back under the Endangered Species Protection.
Yep. So, I mean, so I feel two ways about this, and I'll be super upfront about it. Generally, there has not been a really successful track record for organizations that have sued the government to put animals back on the endangered species list. The track record isn't good. Not saying it has never been successful, but I don't know how successful this is going to be. But they're drawing direct parallels from this incident and saying, hey, look, if these animals were under government protection, like true government protection as they should be, then this incident would have never taken place. And to be fair, and this is going to be a judgment call on my part here, I don't think this guy would have cared either way. I think he saw an opportunity to be a dick and he took it. Am I wrong? Maybe. I don't know. That's just my opinion, man. Would he have paraded it around a bar and called attention to himself? Probably not. Or if he was really dumb, then maybe. I really don't know. You know, I can speculate over this kind of stuff over and over again for ages, but that, you know, that's just my opinion and my thoughts, right? But at the end of the day, if this incident would have happened the same way, he would have faced serious punishment because the animal was protected as an endangered species. But because that is not the case in that state, he gets, what was it, like a $250 fine? I
Nothing.
think the
Yeah.
most damage that has come to him has been because there was such outrage and public outcry, right? Because this was such a visible event. As far as I can tell, this man has quote unquote gone into hiding. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means that he has left the state, moved out of the city that he lives in, or the town that he lives in. I don't know what the fallout has been for this man locally and what he's had to do. And I will say, some advocates got really out of hand, threatening his children, threatening his wife, threatening violence against him. And let me be real, this guy's a piece of shit. That is my opinion. That is the opinion of the organization. He did something shitty to an animal that was undeserving. But resorting to violence or threatening violence against this man's children, that is too far. And I'm not supportive of that. I went off on a tirade here, but the point is, if these animals would have been protected at a federal level, if this incident played out the same way, he would face serious punishment and probably be made an example of. Instead, he has a $250 fine, and the worst that he has faced has been a result of the outcry from the general public, not the state, not the feds, nothing. So,
No, it's the tens of thousands of people that are now, like, know his face, know his name, and associate it with, like, cruel and unusual behavior towards animals. Like, he
it's,
is...
yeah, totally. Like, it's barbaric. What he did was barbaric. You know, there are plenty of animals that I don't like, even as an advocate, okay? I can't ever picture myself say, you know what? Let's run it down with a snowmobile. That sounds like a great idea. I just, it makes zero sense for me, okay? Zero sense. Yeah, I don't know. So,
Ivy does have a question.
yeah, Ivy, go ahead.
What about changing the perspective of the religious right from dominion of stewardship?
That is a very big...
From dominion to stewardship.
So that is a very big question. Can you break it down into parts for me, Ivy? And we can kind of take this discussion step by step, because that is a very, very, very big and broad question. What I did want to say before we move on from the topic of lawsuits is this is an active lawsuit, again, filed July 2nd. We don't know what's going to happen there. I don't know if it's going to be successful. I wouldn't think so. But our stance on that as an organization is that we still believe that these animals should be relisted. They are beneficial, and I think that there needs to be provisions made for folks that are negatively impacted by these animals as well. You know, but both sides need to work together to find that solution.
Yep, absolutely.
What? I can't put it away?
I like how
Do
it
you
comes
want it or
running
not?
back. I can just see Wyatt's little legs in the corner.
Okay. Do you want... I love that you want more brushies. There's nothing to brush, bud. Like, there's no more hair. Well, maybe a little bit on your tail. Oh, you want more snackies, maybe? Oh, okay. You do? You don't even have to do anything for these. I'm just going to feed you because I love you. So I guess let's tackle Ivy's question. Paul, can you repeat it again for me?
Sure. What about changing the perspective of the religious right from dominion to stewardship?
So, hi, baby. I don't think it has to do with religion specifically. I think that religion can play a part in our attitude as a species to have dominion instead of viewing dominion as stewardship, right? So I don't think it's inherently religious. I think that it is the nature of humans, regardless of religion. In general, historically, we have been a species that believes in ownership, right? Of animals and even other people, which are in certain parts of the world that is still practiced. It's insane. So I don't think it's religious in nature. I think that it is our species as a whole, regardless of whatever religion you want to throw in there. It is what we do. And changing that perspective, there is no one size fits all answer here. There is no easy answer here, because we all have different backgrounds, we all have different lived experiences, we all have different value sets. This is a very big and tough challenge, but I think that also it highlights the importance of having educational programs that are based in science or that are based in fact.
Yep.
I think that having the ability to showcase coexistence with these animals is, hi buddy.
He's just
Sorry.
like, stop talking.
Stop
I
talking. Yeah.
have to give kisses. Well, I feel like, so personally, the fragmentation of religion makes it very hard to, because they're all platforms to speak to a wider audience, and it's like a collective belief in certain things, in a very broad way. And there's obviously going to be some sections and some groups that believe that they should have complete and utter control over nature and the whatever resides within it.
Like I said, in some areas, in some religions, there is the belief that women are inferior to men as a sex. Obviously, I do not share that belief. But the fact remains that is a very strong opinion and very strong belief system, both from a religious perspective and a cultural perspective, right? I cannot say that one religion is worse than others, or that religion should be brought into this conversation. I think it is a mindset, like I said, of species. And I think that we as humans believe that because we have superior intellect or intelligence on some level, that we rule this world, that we have dominion over it, because of our technological advances, because of our ability to learn and grow and move forward, you know. But I think as we head down that pathway of advancement, we are forgetting what it's like to coexist with things. And I think historically, prior to our industrial revolution, there was a greater harmony in nature at periods and points of time in history, where there was an inherent respect that I think we've kind of lost.
Yep.
And I don't know how
That's
to address that.
that's not to say there's no point to reaching out to religious leaders and seeing if they're willing to preach, for a better word, the you would like to see.
I mean, it's a slippery slope, right? I'm willing to work with anyone and everyone who wants to see a better future, for future generations, a better future where we're learning to coexist.
Oh, your microphone just cut out.
Is it still working?
Back
No,
now.
not working?
Yes.
Okay. Excuse me, sir. We don't grab. Watch me. Watch me. Good.
Ivy says yes, exactly.
So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of folks. Well, thank you for that, but that doesn't get you food. I think there's a lot of ways that we can go about working together. I don't think singling out religion is a good way to do it, personally. I think that we need to find ways to coexist with each other as people so we can learn how to coexist with other species. And that is just a monumental task. And has seemed to be impossible for humans as a species since their, existence. Where we always fight amongst each other. We've always sown discord amongst each other, whether it's religious groups or from a cultural perspective, on your cultural beliefs or habits or traditions. So we're still trying to learn how to get along with each other, right? Instead of thinking that we are, I think Carl Sagan said it best, we're just inhabiting a fraction of a dot. The world is so much more vast than we can imagine. The universe is much more vast than we can imagine. And we are fighting wars and doing unspeakable acts to each other as a human species, just so we can be momentary leaders for a fraction of a dot. So, trying to get everybody on the same side to coexist with one another, I feel needs to be one of the things that needs to happen before we're able to be coexisting harmoniously with other species. I think that we're making efforts. I think that individuals make a difference, showing folks that you can coexist. And I know that the animals that we have are not wild. They were not born in the wild. They were captive animals, captive bred animals. But speaking from experience, being able to work with these animals every day, being able to let into part of their pack, give or take, the day. Being able to see them as individuals and then watch them grow and learn together in their own little mini pack has been life-changing. It has been one of the greatest honors of my life. And to be able to see that it is possible to coexist with these animals is just unbelievably important, I think. Where they're not the big bads, they're not going to snatch your kids up. They may be pushy for their treats, but they're pretty cool animals. So,
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. Ivy says, we need to analyze our audience in Wyoming.
I mean, we do. But this is also not a new practice, right? Like, there are analysts for everything that you can think of. I'm specifically thinking of political analysts who look at their base and say, okay, well, the majority of folks in this region or this section have these jobs or this income level, and this is, or they may be predominantly religious or not religious. And they tailor their candidate and campaigns and political viewpoints to that base to cater to them, to represent them, right? So, on one hand, I do find trying to analyze that base audience in Wyoming as beneficial in that I can understand their needs or their perspective. But on the other hand, if their perspective is, well, torturing animals to death is fine, that's not one that I share, and I don't necessarily think I want to cater to that audience. If anything, I think it is my duty as an advocate to rise above that and say, well, why is that necessary for you? Instead of condemning them and saying, well, that's fucked up, because it is. I think it's my responsibility to say, hey, why do you feel that way? Why do you think it's okay? What happens if we took away that animal in this incident and we put in a human? Would that be okay? And then we start to chip away at their value sets and make them analyze why they feel it's okay in one circumstance and not another, and maybe highlight ways that we can move forward together in a different way with a different perspective. I'm never going to get everybody to love wolves or feel passionate about wolves the way that I do, but I can at least challenge their perspective in hopes that they look at things slightly different or take a step back and go, you know what? Running down animals is not the right thing. I may not like the animal. I may not like what it does to my livestock or what it does and the impact that it has on my livelihood, but there are other ways. So, my 2 cents.
We, just so you're aware, we hit the 1 hour mark.
Ooh. Well,
Oh,
if that's cool.
say that again. You cut out.
Uh-oh. I said I would actually like to wrap up if that's cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Because these guys, like, Wyatt's not even coming out for snackies right now.
No, she
I
sent
know
us.
I have a snackies for you. I don't even want you to perform. I just want to feed you. Space bubble, please. Are you drooling? No, absolutely not. Can you, no? The beans? Can we see beans? Beans is a new cue for him. Beans. Right here. Right here. That's not it. I want that. There you go, bud. He's very excited. All right, guys. I think that's going to wrap it up for us today. I'm hoping that, you know, we continue to get updates from the state of Wyoming and that subcommittee, and then kind of see what happens from here. You know, I am actively looking at ways to stay more connected to advocacy. and see what we can do to support other advocates and other organizations like Wyoming Wildlife Advocates, like Wyoming Untrapped, like Wolves of the Rockies. I think it's incredibly important to stay active in that way. Even if we may not be able to be the ones that are boots on the grounds, we can still throw our support behind the folks that are. So hopefully we'll have better updates to share as we get them. And we can think about, how our own individual states, wherever you're tuning in from, how they would respond to this. And that may be a question you want to pose to your own local legislators. Like, if this happened here, what would you do? How would this be responded to?
Yeah.
And take a more proactive approach. But I feel like that's a whole other conversation for another conversation, or conservation conversation. So revisit that another time.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you,
guys
Jenna.
for
Thank you,
tuning in.
Ivy. And everyone else that watched. We'll be back.
We'll be back sometime in August. This is it for July, guys. Stay tuned in the next week or two for what our topics are and what dates we're going to be live. So until then,